Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Michelle Stanton, and we are doing the follow-up to the 5 ways to reset your metabolism. We just came off of kind of like last week, we ran through the 5 pound challenge. So we did 5 days of the different ways, the 5 ways to reset your metabolism. So you might have been in on that. If you're on this webinar, you might have actually missed it and got registered for this after that happened. So we are going to review those 5 ways because even if you did do the 5 pound challenge and you were in the original webinar, you might have, gotten so much information, even just from the 5 ways, that maybe you forgot about one or two of the ways through the 5 pound challenge. So, we're going to go through them again. So you can say, oh, I didn't really hone in on that way as much as I could have. So maybe you can do that going forward. And again, if you missed it let's see, it was about 2 weeks ago. If you missed it last time, we're going to review it so you can kind of get all that information now and then start applying it. But we're just going to get going. Feel free to pop into the chat at any point and just let me know you can or can't hear me. Let me know that, let me know if you have any questions. I am going to, forgive me, this is like a sin of a presenter, but I'm going to keep my ringtone on because if anything goes crazy, a lot of times I'll get texts before people will say something in the chat. Because I have great staff and great family that like to get on all these webinars. So that's always very helpful. So I'm going to leave that on. But anyway, let's get started. So welcome to Lighten the Load, 5 ways, recap and next step. So what to do after the 5 pound challenge. Good evening. Okay. So we are going to be celebrating progress this evening. We're going to understand the science behind your progress and your wins. And I love to celebrate anything. It doesn't have to be scale related. So if you want to just pop into the chat and say, if you did do the 5 pound challenge, I would love to, if you're comfortable, please do not share anything you're not comfortable with. You are welcome to pop into the chat and say what you got out of the 5 pound challenge or just from the webinar last time. You're also welcome to, if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you if you are bold and want to get on the video. And that's what we're here for. And then that's totally fine. So if you want to kind of talk about your experience, that's definitely welcome. And we're also going to talk about what to do next steps wise. So that's what we're going to be going over this evening. I tend to talk fast and I'm going to do that because I want to get a lot of information to you. And we are going to be sending out the recording of this tomorrow. So I am going to talk pretty fast, but we'll send out the replay tomorrow. And that way you can rewatch it. If there's something you missed, you can pause, you can write notes, whatever. But I'm just telling you that now before I get revved up and going. Okay. So, okay. Let's first of all, does anybody want to maybe raise their hand? I can unmute you and you can hop on and tell us maybe a win that you had. It does not have to be scale related. It certainly can be scale related. It can be something you learned about yourself or realized going through the process since we did the last webinar, the 5 ways to reset your metabolism. I'm not going to sit here for too long, but we're not getting a lot of hands raised. People tend to be a little shy when it comes to putting themselves on the camera. So that's totally fine. I'm going to just keep going on, but definitely feel free to, if you want to chime in, raise your hand, or like I said, just pop it in the chat. So we are going to do a quick recap of the 5 ways, again, for those who missed it, and for those of you who were on last time and want to get a refresher because, it's only 5 ways, but it's also 5 ways. And there's a lot of information within those 5 ways to reset your metabolism. So let's get going on that. I like these 5 ways because each one can help rebalance cortisol, your blood sugar. So when we're talking about the insulin sensitivity and your nervous system, which are all core drivers of the metabolism. So it is not just about eating and exercise when it comes to your metabolism and losing weight. That is why we incorporated these 5 ways. Okay, so way number 1 is shorten your eating window. So that's going to be trying to shoot for a 10 to 12 hour window of eating from the first bite in the morning to the last bite in the evening. We want to shorten that gradually. We talked about just shortening it 1 hour at a time. So maybe pushing back breakfast an hour or ending dinner or your evening snack an hour earlier than what's normal. And that's going to help with your insulin sensitivity and burning fat better. We're going to switch from using blood sugar and glucose as a fuel source, and it's going to swap you over to starting to use fat as a fuel source. And that's a big key ticket item when we're talking about sparking metabolism and wanting to lose weight, if that's one of your goals. It definitely helps improve metabolic flexibility and your sleep quality. Oh, I hope I'm not tongue-tied all evening. Because your body has a break from digesting and it can focus on other things. It definitely helps regulate that circadian rhythm and the circadian cortisol, which we've talked about is known as the stress hormone. We know it does more than that, but for our intents and purposes, we're going to say cortisol is the stress hormone, and it helps regulate that particularly overnight. So we can help mitigate those late night wakes or like the wakings throughout the night. And we did see that in some of the results that we had. And hang on a second, I do have a hand raised. Let's unmute you. Bailey.
Hi, I have a question about the eating window. When you're talking about eating, does that include like having coffee in the morning and or like a energy drink, not necessarily energy drink, but like some sort of caffeine? Should that be included in your eating window or is that outside of the eating window?
Yeah, that is a really great question. So when we're talking about fasting and intermittent fasting, Bailey, I'm gonna mute you again, but if you have more feedback, go ahead and raise your hand again. So yes, great question, Bailey. When we're talking about the feeding windows, um, okay. You want the main thing is when you're fasting, you don't want your blood sugar to spike. That's how we know your body is fasting. And so for some people, they can do black coffee and not break a fast. My husband is a great example because when he was doing this for a while and he was, hang on, Bailey, I'm just going to make sure that we're understanding each other here. Okay. Um, So, but he realized after a while of what he thought was intermittent fasting and just doing black coffee is that black coffee spiked his blood sugar. And so that was taking him out of fast. So one way you can figure this out is just getting one of those cheap glucometers from like Walgreens, and you can check your blood sugar, and then you can check after you do just plain black coffee and see if that spikes your blood sugar. If it's spiking your blood sugar, that's taking you out of your fast, and you do not want to do that. Same thing with some of these other caffeinated beverages. Most of the other caffeinated beverages are going to increase that blood sugar. Black coffee is traditionally known as one that you can do and stay in the fasting mode. So check that out. And the funny thing is he did that, and then he tried just like a plain espresso shot, and it didn't spike his blood sugar. And so you might just see, kind of play around with it and see. But that's the main thing. If you're unsure, and if that's something that you really value is like your black coffee in the mornings, definitely grab just a cheap glucose monitor. It's like the finger prick one, and see how your body responds to X, Y, and Z. Great question, because that's a common question. And from reading everyone's journals, and just from life, I just know that a lot of people drink coffee. So that is one thing you can do. And if it's not spiking your blood sugar, you can do that before you enter into your like eating window. Yes, and remember, it's still important to get all your food in. So we are not fasting and shortening the eating windows to reduce calorie intake. That's not the point of this. The point is to give your body a break from eating and from digesting. You still need to be getting everything that you need to be getting food-wise, just in that shorter window. So this is not the time to be skipping breakfast and everything and only doing lunch and dinners. If you are, you want to make sure you're getting enough of the caloric load from what you would be getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if that makes sense. But we don't want to just be like at a deficit, like a calorie deficit for this purpose. This is not what that is for. So we are only reducing the time that you're eating. We're not reducing necessarily the amount of food you're eating, unless you're overeating. We don't want to be overeating. Okay, number two was, you're welcome. Number two was tame the inflammation loop. There's a lot of ways we can do this, but the one way we talked about is removing three highly inflammatory foods, and that is seed oils, like your sunflower oils, your vegetable oils, canola oil, corn oil, refined sugars, and then packaged snacks. So when I say refined sugars, that does not include like natural sugars from fruit and honey, and then packaged snacks. So anything with a ingredient label that's going to have probably a few of these different ingredients in it within it. So like the refined sugars and the seed oils. That will help when we reduce that intake. It's going to lower the inflammatory load, and it will help us improve our insulin sensitivity. And we had talked about why insulin sensitivity is so important, because that helps your body respond to insulin quicker. And so your metabolism can work a lot more efficiently when it's not having to pump through a whole bunch of insulin. It's also going to help support your gut healing and your estrogen metabolism. So when we start talking about sex hormones, taming your inflammation is very, very important. So you really want to look out for, when you're focusing on way number two, taming the inflammation loop, you want to look out for chips and other fried snacks. I saw this on some of the journals. So for the 5 pound challenge, for those of you that didn't know, we opened up our journaling capabilities for the people in that challenge, which is something we usually only do for patients, like active patients in our office, of a certain program. And so what that did for me and for those participants is they could journal their sleep, their mood, their exercise, their nutrition, and I could comment on it. And so in doing that, I saw people doing um, coffee late in the day, corn chips, like low fat, low calorie foods. And so from those, just like those three things, um, with the chips, a lot of times you're going to see those seed oils. And so you really want to look at the ingredient list and say like, hey, because you might think like, oh, this is corn, it's a corn chip. It's how complicated can it get? And you look at the ingredient list and there's a lot of stuff on there that is very pro-inflammatory. And so you really want to be looking at that stuff. And then as far as the like the diet, the low calorie, zero sugar options, those are sweetened with something still. And so those artificial sweeteners can be very inflammatory as well. So I guess I didn't make it like explicitly clear, but when it comes to refined sugars, we also want to be eliminating the artificial sugars, because those the body does not recognize as a food. It recognizes it as a chemical. And so the body really like gets on guard when it sees, aspartame or something like that. And that can really keep that inflammation loop going. And so that's something, if you haven't been avoiding those, like the artificial sweeteners as well, it's something that you can start looking into and at least being aware of what you're consuming. But that is something I saw in some journals going through the 5 pound challenge. Okay, way number three is moving to regulate and not punish your body, right? Because we talked about how people will make, certain decisions maybe over a holiday weekend or over a long weekend or over a regular weekend or any time of day, and they'll say, oh, I did so bad, now I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to beat the bad decisions out of my body. And that's just not how it works. And that puts your body in a very stressed out state, and your body says, okay, maybe I just made some poor nutrition decisions and now I'm over exercising, and now my body is getting extra stressed, and you're actually moving yourself backwards in the progress that you think you're moving yourself forward in. And so our body uses movement as nourishment if we use it correctly. I'm getting a question. If you put fresh fruit in your water as a flavoring, does that break your fast? Yes. Again, you can check and see on your glucose monitor, but the fresh fruit, the juices are going to come out of that. And this is different than the refined sugar. So it's not a refined sugar that you're putting into your drink. That's not the concern. The concern is the natural sugars are getting into the water and you're consuming sugar, and that can spike your blood sugar. That can take you out of your fast. And so if you're going to be doing, I think fresh fruit and water is phenomenal. I would just do it within your eating window. But that is also a really great question. Yeah, pretty much the only thing that's going to be safe within your fast, definitely water, totally fine. And then for some people, black coffee. But like I said, some people not. So and if you have a question, just check a glucose monitor. Those things are cheap. They're quick. And you can get some good information on there. It's a really good way to like check in with your body and know what your normal is too. Especially when it comes to blood sugar and when you start dealing with like insulin sensitivity and blood sugar levels. So yeah, so we're talking about moving to regulate and not punish. Gentle movement, like I said, is nourishment to the body. And that's not to say we can never do high intensity exercise. That's just to say if we're trying to get back to a reset point, maybe if you are doing like a lot of high intensity exercise, scaling it back to more gentle movement. And if you're not doing any, let's start you in on some of that lower intensity gentle movement. But that can really help with lowering the cortisol levels because again, you're not putting your body in this like this stressed out state. Movement and exercise are a good stressor to the body until they're not a good stressor, until they flip and they go into a bad stress. And so doing that gentle movement is good. And then it also helps activate lymph flow, which I saw in some journals. Also, I saw a lot of you actually do like the vibration plates or the rebounder. And actually just walking is really great for activating that lymphatic flow and moving stuff through the body. The gentle movement is going to help improve your mitochondrial function, and mitochondria are like the batteries of our cells. That's what gives us energy and fat oxidation. And so we're starting to use fat as fuel. And then movement will also signal safety to the body. Again, if it's gentle movement, if it's putting you in this state of, okay, I can move and I can do something good for my body, but I don't have to hurt in order to do it. That is a really good sign to your body that it's safe. It's in a safe space. So just remember that gentle movement doesn't have to be like like just like a flow, it can elevate your heart rate. You can go on a brisk walk and that can still be gentle movement. Yoga is a really great example because yoga is gentle movement, but it's work on your body. And so just finding that like sweet spot of like, yeah, I feel my heartbeat. I am breathing a little heavier, but I could still have a conversation with the person next to me comfortably. And that's a good sign that you're doing like more of that gentle movement. Way number 4 is sleeping like a strategy, like it's a strategy. And sleep is probably, these 5 ways are not in any sort of like hierarchy of importance, but sleep is like God's gift to us. And if you think about it, I mean, God rested on the 7th day. I mean, even God rested. If you and the creator of the universe needs rest, like we should probably also rest. And so it is a gift to us, and it is a gift not only to like help us wake up the next morning, but our bodies go to work. When we go to sleep, our subconscious and the autonomic like processes of the body, they go to work when we go to sleep. Your hormones will reset. I'm talking cortisol, your insulin, your leptin, which is like the hunger hormone, those will reset. Also, it's very important to our sex hormones as well. So like your estrogens, your testosterones, your progesterones, those are also very in tune with our sleep-wake cycle. Poor sleep will increase ghrelin, which is that hunger hormone, and decrease leptin, which is your satiety hormone. And so when we don't get enough sleep, we A, feel hungrier than we actually are, and B, can't tell ourselves to stop eating. So it's like a 1-2 punch when we're not getting enough sleep. And then we're just eating because our body needs quick energy and it's not getting it from sleep. So it needs to get it from food. And no one is snacking on like carrots and steak when they're hungry in this state. They're, what we snack on when we're tired. So we want to aim for 7 to 9 hours and going to bed before 10 o'clock at night. Everybody's got like their schedule. So make what works for you work. But, we want that out. We want that time frame, the 7 to 9 hours, and we want a screen-free wind down time. So we had talked about in the 5 ways in the 5-pound challenge, doing an hour before bed, no screens, because that blue light can really block or disrupt the sleep-wake cycle. So the blue light from devices like screens, TVs, your phone. So doing that in 7 to 9 hours, and that doesn't have to be, if you get in bed and you're there and you're not sleeping for that 7 to 9 hours, at least right away, give yourself yourself a chance to just relax, because even resting, even if you aren't like conked out, is still very beneficial to the body. Caffeine after 1 p.m. For those of you who are not sleeping well, and are drinking caffeine after 1 p.m., that can be coffee, that can be sodas, that can be like those Spark energy drinks and things like that. That would be like number one thing to cut out, I would say. Um, those are going to disrupt your sleep wake cycle. I would say at least give yourself time to try it out, cutting out. Some people say like, oh, I can drink coffee at 9 o'clock at night and go to sleep and be just fine. Which that's a conversation for another day. If you're sleeping fine, good for now, fine. I'm gonna leave it alone. If you're not sleeping well though, I would say cut that caffeine out earlier in the day. And if you have to move it up gradually, like we do with the eating windows, 1 hour at a time, that's fine too. But get your sleep. And this is one way that can really help you get that sleep is by cutting back the caffeine later in the day. And way number 5 was mastering your mindset, because we know that the brain and the way we talk to ourselves and our conscious mind have a very real tie-in with our subconscious and with our physiology. And so every time we tell ourselves we're not good enough, we messed up, I can't believe I did this, I'm so stupid because I know better, that tells your body that it's not safe. And so just like the cortisol being elevated when you're punishing yourself with exercise, just like a tiger walking into this room elevates my cortisol, that is going to put my body in a stress state, and I can't heal in a stress state, and I'm certainly not going to lose weight efficiently in a stress state. My metabolism is going to be bogged down because my body is trying to survive and not worry about how effective its metabolism is right now. So really, really, I prioritize this like you should prioritize your diet, and like you should prioritize movement. Prioritize your mindset, the way you view yourself, the way you view yourself, or your surroundings, because what you believe about your body, it truly does become your biology. And we know that positive self-talk reduces stress chemistry, so your cortisol, like that stress hormone. um, and I think, especially when you're new to this, I've been doing this for a long time. My husband, my practice, we've all been doing a lot more as far as like mindset and mindfulness and gratitude. But especially if you're new to it, just think progress over perfection, because we're never going to be perfect. We've been doing this for a long time. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to speak for my husband, but I'm not perfect. So just think progress over perfection. If you catch yourself, and a lot of times all it takes is you catching yourself and actually listening to the conversations in your head. Oh, I suck. Oh, I can't believe I did that this weekend. Oh, I'm the worst. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I should have done that. No. Say, oh, that could have been better, and I will do better tomorrow. Or maybe I could have done it like this, and I'm going to work on it. I'm still learning. I saw some of that in journals too. I This one, like way number 5, really gets glossed over. And I'm not talking about just within the 5 pound challenge. I'm talking about like just clinically. People will get their diet on point. They will straighten out their exercise appropriately. They'll even sleep well. They'll turn off all the EMF, exposure in the house. But they will kind of like say, oh, but yeah, it's like mindset, whatever, and shrug it off. But this one is where we see a lot of turning points. And so I was very proud to see in some journals over the 5 pound challenge, people saying, I did this, but I told myself it was okay, and then I would do better tomorrow. Or I did this, but it's okay because I'm still learning, and I think if I do this, it'll be better. And I felt like a proud mama, because that's not an easy thing to do. And that is not something that is super prioritized in our culture. Social media is not telling you you're doing a great job and it's hard, but you can still do it. They're not telling you that. And so for us, so we have to say it to ourselves. So do not gloss over way 5, mastering your mindset. The physical act of doing something. So, the conversation is important when we're doing, but then if you want to take it a step further, and if you want to process it out physically, so either writing out what you're worried about, where you think you fell short, why you think you can learn from this and do something different or grow from this tomorrow, um, and what you're grateful for. Those are all things that you can write out or talk through. And the physical act of doing that process it. Oh gosh, I'm not trying. Moves it through a different part of your brain. Can you tell it's 7:25 in the evening? puts it in a different part of your brain. And so you are actually internalizing some of that in a different way than you are just having the conversation in your head. That's a good start. But if you want to take it a step further, write it down or, talk to a friend, talk to a partner, talk to yourself out loud because the physical act of making it come through your vocal cords and out of your mouth with your lips flapping, again, processes it. Why did I do this to myself again? Does it differently in your brain. I never knew that was a hard word to say until just now. Awesome. Okay. So we went through the 5 ways, and you know what you could do? You could keep doing those 5 ways. Seriously, you could still just move through the 5 ways. Maybe just focus on one or two right now. When they become more like second nature, then add in another way. Or if you're one of those like all or nothing people, some people just really like that, do them all. And then if you maybe slip up here or kind of fall short here, just say, you know what, we'll get back on that horse tomorrow. You could keep doing that. That is going to get you truly very, very far. If you are on this call and you were not in on the 5 pound challenge, you didn't get those 5 ways emailed to you because we talked more in depth in a video for each day, each way, let me know. I will get you those. If you know someone that you were telling them about this and they think, oh, that sounds really cool, but I can't get on the webinar, forward the emails. I don't care. Share it with the world. That's fine. But you can keep doing that. But if you are ready to say, okay, yeah, those were all great, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm liking how I'm feeling. I'm liking the changes I'm seeing on the scale, yes, but also in my sleep, also in my mood, also in my mindset. I am liking how I am feeling now. This is what we're going to do next. We can do hormone testing. Hormone testing is interesting because it's gotten a lot more popular recently, but no one really knows what to do with it once they have it. And so, first of all, we just want to know what your hormones are doing. I like running, it's called a Dutch hormone test. It's a dried urine test. And I like the urine versus the blood because blood is going to tell us like a spot shot, like right now, what's happening, and that is it. Urine can tell us, well, this test via urine can tell us, and you can kind of see on this slide, we have dials there. This is just one page of the results. They just redid the reports. I don't remember what the new reports are. It's like, I'm not going to oversell it. Maybe like 7 pages worth of information. But it will tell us not only like what your estrogen is doing, what your testosterone, your progesterone are doing, but it'll tell us what it was doing before it became estrogen, and it'll tell us what it's doing after it's become estrogen and how it's moving through the body. That is why I like this test. This test, the Dutch Plus, also runs cortisol and your cortisol awakening response. So let's just talk about it for a second. So it's going to run your estrogen, your progesterone, your androgen, so like your testosterones. So it's going to run your sex hormones. It's also going to show you your cortisol patterns throughout the day because this also, the Dutch Plus also includes saliva samples. So it's a urine and a saliva sample, which is kind of nice because you can just do it at home. You don't have to come to an office or anything like that. Just do it at home, pop it in FedEx mail, and send it off. And then it's going to run the cortisol awakening response, which is different than your cortisol patterns throughout the day. This, the CAR, it's a mini stress test of how your HPA axis, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, the adrenals are what makes cortisol, axis. So it's going to tell us what your body is actually doing, what that loop is doing within the body. And then the Dutch also runs melatonin, which is essentially the sleep hormone, and then other key organic acids for things like metabolism and sleep markers. So that is really nice. What's nice about that is we can't go anywhere without kind of knowing where we're at. I mean, we can, but it's more of like a shotgun approach. That's why we like testing, because we know where we start, so we know where we need to go. So that's, I'm talking about like estrogen dominance, and that was kind of a buzzword for a while, estrogen dominance. I'm going to tell you right now, I see probably a 50-50 split of estrogen dominance versus estrogen deficiency. I see so many women with low estrogen. And this test is not just for women. I know I just said women. the Dutch test is not just for women. Men also have estrogen. Men certainly have testosterone, and they've got the cortisol going all over the place too. So this is not just for women, FYI. So like I said, the report is really cool, and you can kind of see those down. But I like doing testing because we need to know, like I said, where you're at, so we know where we need to go with things. And your metabolism is absolutely tied in with your sex hormones, and of course the cortisol, like we talked about throughout many of the factors in the 5 ways. Why the CAR matters, and that's what's included within the Dutch plus. The plus is important here. It's because it can show us if we have a blunted CAR response, that's going to show us that you are burnt out, that you are chronically fatigued, and that you are at risk for autoimmunity and autoimmune disease. If you have elevated CAR, you have an overreactive hypothalamic pituitary axis, the HPA. And so it's just kind of like it's on edge. It's like ready to just pop off at any time, and not in a good way. It's not just responsive, it's over responsive. You're anxious, and not just like a lot of people that are anxious know they're anxious, but some people don't realize how anxious they are. And they have, and this elevated CR can also indicate the blood sugar issues. And so that's when we're talking about insulin resistance, that's a huge thing we need to be looking at, is how your body is responding with its cortisol response. So that is why we like that, because identifying patterns of your cortisol and your cortisol response is going to show us how your stress is affecting your metabolism. And if we don't know that, if you don't know that, you may not be taking the right steps to address it and to fix it. And so you might just be spinning your wheels. You might be trying to eat everything right and do this and that, and nothing is changing, and the scale is not changing, and you still feel like crap. But it's because your cortisol is out of control and no one's ever told you, and you've never known that. So that is why we like the Dutch Plus test. The value of testing is it explains why weight loss is stalling or your energy is dipping, why you could essentially be doing all the right things, but you're just not seeing the changes, like we said. This testing can connect your hormones and your sleep and your blood sugar and your metabolism and make sense of everything. So it all ties in, right? It's all in one body. Your stress response happens in the same body that your insulin response happens, that your body sleeps in, that your body exercises in, that metabolizes all your food. So of course we need to tie in all of these factors. We can't just look at everything in a vacuum, like in a little box on its own. We have to tie in all these things. If we're going to understand you and understand your specific needs, we have to test, and we have to know, and we have to look at it in this lens of you are all of you and not just this part of you. And we like knowing this. I say we as like the clinicians, as the coaches of these programs, because it helps us guide some of the personalization of our program. So like food choices, your movement. Some people can do like higher intensity exercise right away and be fine. Some people really need to scale it back. Stress strategies, helping calm down the central nervous system, but we need to know that about you to make those specific recommendations. We want to move beyond just generic throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks advice, just scroll through Instagram. You can get advice all day that has nothing to do with you. You don't need to be on a webinar for that. If you want like the personalized stuff, the non-generic, hey, Tanya, you need this because you experienced this, and this is what you have going on, and this is your life, and these are the considerations. So this is what you need to do in order to achieve X, Y, and Z goals. I promise I don't think there's a Tanya on this. But we want to do that because we want targeted interventions. We want you to see your success. We don't want to see someone else's success in you, because that's just not how it works. So we can do the Dutch testing, the Dutch Plus. I like that. What I really like is tying in the testing, and from the testing, knowing what to do, helping you do something with it. Because you can do like functional testing, functional medicine testing, functional lab testing. You can do that all day. You can run your bank account dry doing functional testing. But if you don't know what to do with that information, you just learned a bunch about yourself, and I guess that's good, but you need to know what to do with it. And that is where our Living Light program comes in, because we can tie in. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Okay, it's fine. Because we can tie in the hormones, and we can tie in like the cortisol, the sex hormones, all of it, like all of the Dutch plus, and what we can do with our Living Light, which is practical goal setting, smart goal setting, and incorporating a metabolic reset that is, again, tailored to you and not just Joe Blow out on the street. So our Living Light program helps restore the HPA axis. We already talked about that. The hypothalamic pituitary, those are two places in the brain. Adrenal axis, it helps restore that and balance and lower the cortisol, gets the cortisol to a healthy level. It also helps improve insulin sensitivity via mindful eating and structured phases. So structured, like nutritional phases. It helps reduce inflammation by eliminating those trigger foods, like the seed oils and the refined sugars, but there's a few others that we eliminate as well. And then it helps optimize sleep and recovery a lot through nervous system resetting, but also metrics. We use metrics tracked via the Aura Ring. If anybody has an Aura Ring, those things are awesome, and it tells us so much information. Again, information does you no good unless you know what to do with that information. So that is why we like running the Dutch Plus with our Living Light, because, oh boy, the Living Light on itself is good, but then you get that extra information about that patient, and we see, okay, this is good, this program is good, but if we can just tweak it this way and that way and this way for you, because these are what your hormones and your cortisol are looking like, it like accelerates, it like 10x's that program. So how the Living Light program works is, well, how the nutritional portion of the Living Light program works is we do a loading phase, so 2 days, and you just load your body up on calories. It's kind of crazy. A lot of people say that's the hardest part of the entire 10 weeks. It's a 10-week program, and a lot of people say these 2 days, the 2-day loading phase, are the hardest. So I guess that's good, because you get them over with right away, and they're only 2 days. But you are loading your body up because you are going to reignite your metabolism with nutrient-dense foods, and then we're just going to hit the gas. It's like loading your car completely up with fuel, and then you just slam on the gas pedal. And that's what we do through the next phase, is a release phase. And that's when we start supporting fat mobilization and resetting the insulin and leptin hormones. And we call it the release phase because this is when people really release a lot of the junk on the body that they don't need, junk in and on the body. So that's where we release a lot of weight, if that's one of your goals. Again, this is not always the goal of people in the Living Light program, and we tailor that because we want to make sure that we're not pushing people towards goals that they do not have for themselves. But that's the release phase. And then the maintenance phase is reintroducing foods, really listening to the body. The whole time we're listening to the body, but the maintenance phase is when we're kind of switching gears. And we want you to listen to your body when we reintroduce some of these foods, when we introduce maybe some more movement, and we're going to stabilize you at a new set point. So you say, this is where I feel good. And now I have the tools to get me back here anytime I may, get off track of it. So this is my new set point. I mean, we have you like get rid of your fat genes. We're like, get rid of those, because that's not you anymore. You don't need your fallback, like your safety net. You don't need your safety genes. Get rid of them, because we don't need that mindset anymore. So that's something we do. So that's the nutrition part of the Living Light. The Living Light program has a lot more. You do one-on-one visits with your Living Light coach. There's weekly videos, like weekly webinars, kind of like this. They're always recorded if you can't make the live ones, but you're also welcome to ask questions about anything regarding the program within those weekly visits or weekly webinars. You have the journaling, like you had in the 5-pound challenge, the journaling capability. So nutrition, sleep, exercise, mood. You can journal any and all as much as you want about that, and then your coach will comment on it. So you have like immediate feedback. You have chat capabilities. So you have a lot of opportunity to make this your own and really get a lot of good feedback and get good accountability through the program, through the Living Light program, through that whole 10 weeks. And also let's see, I want to make sure that, and then you're also running through like the program. We have a virtual component to the program. So on our portal, you'll be getting information about, just all kinds of things, all kinds of tools to help you through this, the mindfulness, the breathing, the central nervous system reset, which is huge. The nervous system reset is like kind of the flagship part of this whole program, which is a lot of programs are missing. And that's why this program works so well, is because a piece that's been ignored forever, which is the nervous system, is finally being addressed. So that's why we're doing that. That's why we're running, the Living Light program, but we're adding in the Dutch Plus to help personally master your metabolism. And we want you to be the master. We want you to understand your set point. We want you to know how to read the body signals and what feels good to you, what feels bad to you, and everything in between. So when you do these two together, you see what your hormones are doing. So you know what you need to do, as opposed to just guessing and hoping something sticks, which I think a lot of people are doing, especially with the advent of social media these days. You apply targeted strategies we know work, and you help balance them. So you balance them and tailor them to you once you know what works. And we can customize that. We can customize the interventions based on, again, your unique patterns, your needs, your hormones, your life situation. And then you learn through all of that. You learn, not we learn, you learn how to become the master of your own metabolism, because now you have a sustainable knowledge base for lifelong health, doing this for a lifetime, because you have access to the program forever. Once you run through the 10 weeks, you can always go back and do it again. Like, you don't have to re-register for any of it. You can always redo your labs as well. So, because you guys are awesome and rocked, I don't say this lightly, you rocked the 5-pound challenge. And like I said, I'm not joking. I'm a little proud mama seeing some of these journal entries. I thought it was so cool. Not everybody did the journals, and that's fine. I'm just going to trust that you all felt great too. But I guess that's just the optimist in me. But because you guys are awesome and you rock the 5-pound challenge, and because you are really trying to reset that metabolism in ways that maybe you haven't done before, we want to make this accessible to you. We want you to do this because we want you to see that change, because we know a lot of the other changes out there, or a lot of the other options out there, are not making the change that you are wanting. Maybe you've tried them and they haven't made the change that you're wanting, waist size or otherwise. So we are going to kind of package all of this together. The Living Light Reset. And that's that 10-week program of guided support. So you have a coach that you are working with throughout the 10 weeks. The Dutch Plus hormone tests. And I'm also going to be including an interpretation by me of that. So I will record a video of me going through your results and sending it to you, so you have it to review, watch again, show your spouse, so they understand what's going on. But you're going to get that, which is not something we typically offer, like just Joe Blow off the street, like I said. And then you're going to get a customized plan within that Living Light Reset and coaching based on your results and your progress. It's not a generic program. It's something that we are tailoring to you because you have your needs. We are doing this at a price of $3,600. That is less than what we typically would offer these independent parts for. And we're also offering the Aura Ring. So you're getting this at a lower price, and then we're buying you the Aura Ring. So this package is a deal, but we want it to be more of like a pre-reward for you, just investing in yourself and investing in an actual change. So don't think of it as a discount, because it's not a discount. It's like, hey, you're doing it, so good job for you. Let's get you a little reward. But that is what we are doing. So I'm going to actually, let me drop this in the chat. I'm going to drop this in the chat. This is how, if you want to do a discovery call. Dr. George is running the Living Light program. So he would be your coach. I would do your Dutch plus interpretation. And then he will also have the Dutch plus interpretation. So I will communicate with him what's going on. So then if you are running through the program, he knows what you guys are working on. You know what you guys are working on. Everybody knows, all parties involved know what we need to tailor via hormones and the Living Light program. So if you are interested in running this specific package, the Living Light, the Dutch Plus, getting your Aura ring, getting everything customized to you, because now we know what your hormones are looking like, we know what your specific and smart goals are, then this is a special link. This is not the typical discovery call link that we just send out to anybody that wants to schedule a discovery call with Dr. George about the Living Light program. This one is special for this package. So if you want to book that discovery call with Dr. George and get started on this program, get your Dutch kit ordered and in the mail to you, or if you're local, you can pick it up here. That's fine too. Follow this link. I'm going to send this link out with the replay. So if you don't catch it tonight, that's fine. If you just want to like copy and paste it and text it to yourself or email it to yourself, just so you have it, I would encourage you to do that. But this will also come out tomorrow when we send the replay. I will include this link as well. So you still have the option to get like this whole package, which I said, again, this is not something we just offer all the time, always, for everyone, because like the interpretation and the ordering that we're including and everything like that, it's a little bit of a special thing for our 5 ways participants, because we're just excited for you. I think this is a really fun time. It's a big turnaround point for people. And you know what, going into the holidays and people are starting to think about next year and, oh my gosh, it's another year, I haven't done this and that, and I haven't reached my goal of that I set last year. Like, this is a good time to say, no, you know what, the change happens now. And you don't have to wait for 2026. You can start right now. Just a thought. Does anybody have any questions? I did this about it in as much time as I thought I would. I thought I'd do it faster. Sorry. But I hope you got the information that you were wanting out of this. Like I said, replay will go out. And if you need the 5-pound challenge emails, the 5 ways emailed out to you with the videos and the deeper information about each of the 5 ways, let me know. You can respond to the email tomorrow, and I can get you sent those if you haven't gotten them already, or I can resend them. That's fine too. Copy and paste this link. And if there's no questions, we will be seeing you guys at some point, maybe in a discovery call, maybe in another webinar. But I'm telling you, you can make a change now, or you can put it off and make a change later. You guys, it is time to do something now, because your metabolism, you may have thought it was, is not broken. It's not broken, it's adaptive, and it just adapted potentially to unideal habits. We can adapt it back to ideal habits. So don't let that stop you, because when you give your body the right inputs, it knows exactly how to heal. We are made brilliantly for a reason. So our body knows how to heal. It knows how to lose weight. It knows how to sleep. It knows how to feel good and have energy and have a healthy mindset and a happy mindset if we give it what it needs. So we will be seeing you guys soon. I thank you so much for being in on this, you guys. I had a lot of fun, and we will just see you, yeah, next time. Have a good night.